It's Michael Popok, Legal AF Hot Take. Well, the glass ceiling has been broken. The Secret Service is talking about the possibility that Donald Trump could be jailed or imprisoned as a result of one of his criminal trials. We always thought they were talking about it behind the scenes, but the New York Times reports that, yes, the Secret Service is in talks with law enforcement under a scenario where Donald Trump would be jailed. Let me make a distinction here. Jail is likely a possible result for Donald Trump being found in contempt of court by Judge Merchan for violating the gag order. If that happens, yeah, there's a jail in the back of the courthouse. It's like a cooling off tank. But there's actually a jail in New York called Rikers Island, which if it were longer than a short amount of time, I think you would be transported to. But talk about what the New York Times is reporting as the logistics that the Secret Service, who has Donald Trump as a requirement, their remit to defend him, meaning the Secret Service is going to jail too, or prison. Now, let me talk about prison. If he is sentenced in a state system like the New York State Supreme Court jury right now considering the election interference business fraud case, then Donald Trump is not sent to a prison per se. He's sent likely to Rikers Island. At least that's where the average garden variety convicted criminal goes in New York. It's not a fun place. It's not a nice place. It's one of the worst jails in the country. And let's just hold that thought for a minute. If he gets convicted in the federal system, then he's under the control of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, the BOP. And the BOP and the director of the Bureau of Prisons has to decide, sometimes in consultation with the judge and the parole and sentencing department of the Department of Justice, as to which facility is right for Donald Trump. That we generally refer to as a prison. The Secret Service has to get their arms and minds around the possibility that Donald Trump is going to jail or prison. The New York Times reports the thing that instigated it. It took it out of the world of conjecture and speculation into the world of Donald Trump potentially wearing a jumpsuit, meaning that the Secret Service, who didn't sign up for this per se, is going to jail too, is the contempt hearing going on in New York. We don't have a ruling yet. We will, maybe by the time this hot take goes up, about whether Judge Merchan first, in an exercise of progressive discipline, fines Donald Trump up to $1,000 a day. That's the maximum in New York. After that, it would be jail time in the courthouse, there's a jail, or in Rikers Island. So how to protect the guy running for the presidency who already has a Secret Service detail. And on the off chance that he were somehow sent back by the American electorate back to the White House, heaven to Betsy, shudder to think, then what would happen? So they got to think about these eventualities. Now, the Secret Service is going to stay with Donald Trump, even if he's incarcerated in one of these facilities I just outlined. Prison, jail. He won't be in the general population. They're already talking, and that's the new reporting. Law enforcement, the directors of the jail and prison system in New York, and Secret Service leadership is talking about how to protect Donald Trump inside. Right? How do you do it? Because there's no talk yet of allowing him to serve out his time in some other facility, like a decommissioned army base or a hospital of some sort. So if he's going to go in, he's going to have to be separated from general population, because even the Trump supporters think he'll be murdered in prison. How do I know that? Alan Dershowitz, a leading lawyer for Donald Trump, big supporter of Donald Trump, constitutional scholar, somebody who got OJ off and not be convicted. He said exactly that on Newsmax. Take a listen.
His wife and his
Just
children.
real quickly, Professor, I want to ask you one question here. This was news over the weekend. Former head of the January 6th committee, Congressman Benny Thompson, he wants to strip Trump of his Secret Service protection that he gets, and that's if he's convicted of this crime. So he would not have Secret Service if he's behind bars. What do you make of this?
Well, that's ridiculous. That means that they want him killed because he's obviously a target. We live in an age where everybody is in danger. Look, Bobby Kennedy ought to be getting Secret Service protection, but certainly Donald Trump needs to get Secret Service protection. Look, he's not going to jail, but if he goes to jail, obviously the law requires Secret Service protection. We had a presidential candidate once running from prison. He got over 1 million votes. That's not going to happen here. The judge is going to bluff and fine and threaten, but he's not going to throw Donald Trump in jail.
Okay, so let's assume as a country, we'd rather Donald Trump not be murdered in prison, which means he's going to have separation from the general population. That means solitary confinement. I mean, that's what it means. He's going to have his own wing. And then in the adjoining cells, I guess they'll take the doors off and make them into little apartments, is going to be Secret Service. And the Secret Service is going to have guns and weapons. Now, you may not know this from all the movies and television out there, but you're not generally allowed to have a weapon unless you're a guard. But the Secret Service is going to have to be given special dispensation to protect the former president and candidate for office, Donald Trump. So you got Secret Service in there. They're going to jail with their weapons in a segregated area for Trump. And this is all being considered. I mean, there's already a quote from Martin Horn, who's with the New York prison system, like, this is uncharted territory. That is the understatement of at least the day. Yes, this is uncharted territory. On the that the leadership of the prison systems, law enforcement, and Secret Service are talking about the possibility that Donald Trump can be jailed. I know there's a hooray going out in the audience right now. They're finally talking about it. But I wanted to bring it to your attention now because, frankly, the New York Times has broken at the story. It's already out there. I don't want to give it to you from my perspective. Will this weigh on the mind of Judge Merchan when he makes his decision about contempt? Slightly. There's a piece of me, and I've said it on Legal AF, that thinks don't make him a bigger martyr than he already is. He's inviting it. The prosecutors have said it in the courtroom during the contempt hearing. Judge, he's inviting you. He wants you to send him to jail. Do it. But you know what would happen among MAGA Red if he were sent to jail for a couple of days? I'm not saying that's the condition. He should be treated like anybody else, although we have to recognize he hasn't been treated like anybody else to date. So we'll leave it to Judge Merchan, who's been doing the right thing all this time, about what to do with him. But if he is sent away, there is let's just put it this way, he takes a lot of luggage and baggage along with him. He needs to be protected. He needs to have Secret Service. They have to have guns. Those people have to be housed and fed. They have to be rotated out, right? Unless they create a supermax prison just for Donald Trump, I guess they could build that, If you listen to the Republicans, they think, we're on the road to all former presidents eventually being prosecuted, convicted, and jailed. Maybe we need a special prison built just for former elected officials and presidents. Who knows? I jest, as you could probably tell from my tongue in cheek. But what I take away from this is a certain amount of comfort that they're even talking about it. And as I jokingly started the hot take, this is a glass ceiling that has been broken, sort of a seal that has been broken. Much the way for me, when Alvin Bragg and the Manhattan DA got the first indictment against Donald Trump, everybody said, not in our audience, but in general, everybody said, oh, we'll never see the day when Donald Trump is brought to justice. And then when he was indicted and arraigned, it was, oh, that's the wrong case. We'd rather it be another case. Okay, so then it was Georgia. It's sort of, Alvin Bragg gave permission to other prosecutors to show that a former president could be indicted. Alvin Bragg also gave permission and broke the glass ceiling and signaled to other prosecutors and attorney generals around the country that you could convict for financial fraud entities close to Donald Trump when he got a 17-count criminal conviction of Trump's two major companies 2 years ago. This is the signal. This is the tone from the top, if you will. Having given that permission, broken that ceiling, then came Phony Willis, Fulton County District Attorney, and her more sprawling, sweeping, racketeering indictment of Donald Trump and arraignment, along with his co-conspirators. Then you had Jack Smith following behind as the special counsel, indicting twice, Mar-a-Lago, and in the DC election interference case. But we still have naysayers. He'll never be brought to justice. You are watching him being brought to justice, right? The revolution may not be televised, but parts of the criminal case against Donald Trump are. And if they're not televised, we're doing what we can on YouTube and on our podcast, Legal AF, to bring this information to you, searing information that it is, in real time with the analysis alongside. And so that's what we do on this network. So now we're talking about a new glass ceiling broken. People can say that secret love language about Donald Trump. How will he be housed and protected in jail or prison? And now we're off and running. Once you can make that leap, cross that Rubicon, and you can start actually talking about that, then it normalizes the issue, and we can stop on other media. I won't call them mainstream. I think we're mainstream. They can stop saying he'll never be jailed because it's too hard. It's so hard. We can't figure it out, Popok. They're figuring it out. That's the reporting here. I'm in New York. That's not a siren to take Donald Trump away yet. But they're working it out. They're professionals. I'm sure I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall. Secret Service calling law enforcement, calling prison director about, this is becoming more of a reality. What do we do next? I almost did my Bane voice from Batman when he was in prison. What do we do now, Batman? I'll continue to report with or without bad impersonations on Legal AF every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the MeidasTouch Network. You want to know why we call it Legal AF? Join the show. Join the audience. You'll know why. We curate and collate and whatever other word I can think of, and cultivate and curate the best 5 stories at the intersection of law and politics. I don't know why I'm so punchy today. I was down at the courthouse. Maybe that's what did it. And we bring it to you with analysis, Wednesdays with me and Karen Friedman Niffolo, Saturdays with me and Ben Meisalas, and then on hot takes, just like this one, as we follow Trump on trial. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, until my next Patreon exclusive video about law and politics, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.